Okay, so we combine, actually, we were supposed to have a talk yesterday, so we're going to do as fast as possible. We would like to address two main issues regarding the localization, from the business and distribution point of view, and from the technical point of view. It's just the main idea behind is to provide you with some key elements for you to think during your production steps what you may have to implement in order to ensure your distribution later on. So that's the main objective. Before going into this, I just would like to do a very brief intro about who's Ivanti. So we could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, what we're going to address, and the next one, yeah. So Ivanti, actually, it's a French group into the post-production. We've been into the market, I mean, we set up in 1984, so more than 30 years. And regarding a quick look about our scope of work, we do cover everything about the post-production. So the headquarters is in Paris. And so it's everything about image, sound, photochemical, because we are still doing restoration in 35 millimeters. The mastering, the authoring, you've been talking a lot about DVD. The media processing, so that's going to be a key point, because regarding the distribution itself, when you need to deliver your content, it's not the question of your distribution partner, it's a technical question. The storage, the localization, the restoration. So more or less, this is what we cover in Paris. At the global level, we do have offices in Poland, so to cover Eastern Europe, in Asia, in Singapore and in Vietnam to cover Asia. I'm very pleased to announce today as an avant-premiere that we have just opened in Kenya and in Nigeria. Yeah, and we are so, thank you guys. We used to have an office in LA, so that might come back at a certain point. But we do work very closely with all these studios from Los Angeles. So Barry here is going to say a few words about our offices in Nigeria and Kenya, and then I will take back the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is Barry. Juliet has already said what Ivanti is all about. So a new part of it is now in Africa. And in Africa, we have the presence in Nairobi, Kenya, and also in Lagos. The Kenyan side takes care of all the languages that are in East Africa, and in Nigeria, we take care of the languages that have to do with West African languages, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, and Pidgin, and any other West African languages. I'm not going to take any more time, but I'll just hand you over back to Juliet.
Thank you, Barry. So at the international level, Ivanti is really focused on the localization issues for the simple reason that for us to rebuild 4K, Atmos Studio, all this chain regarding the technical issues for post-production, it's very costly. So that remains in Paris. And what we do at the international level, we are really focused on the localization for the simple reason that thanks to the digital switchover, and most of you have been through that, now content can fly anywhere. So we have to take this opportunity to help you guys to better sell your content by having a proper localization that will fit perfectly your creative intent from the beginning. The localization, when a localization is badly done, you can say goodbye to your content. You will never sell it. It has to keep your creative intent. And that's the key point about the quality versus the localization. And better your localization is done, more you can sell, more you can recoup your investment, but we will see that later. Just go back. So we have our branches, so as I said, in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, but we do work worldwide with 2,000 freelancers. And any one of you we would like to join, just send us a message, because we do hire many freelancers on daily basis. Now our achievement and badges. So this is a key point that I would like to stress on. So yeah, we can go to the next one. As per today, Ivanti Group is a Netflix preferred partner under 2 badges. What we call the NPFP, which is for licensed content. So some of you may have already experienced some deal with Netflix, so I will go back to that. And another one, which is the NP3, this is for originals. Nowadays, Netflix is really starting hard in Africa. They have already approached us to start for the original content, so meaning it's going to be soon dubbed in your local languages. We are iTunes certified, so in terms of delivery. We are Amazon Prime certified in terms of delivery as well. And of course, we have all our technical certification as well as CDSA, which is the security issue. This is something that I would like to stress on as well because we discussed a lot about piracy. So throughout this presentation, I will go back to how secure and safeguard your assets while we are working. Back to Netflix. Netflix, and we're going to go into more the technical point, but they have specific requirements that will happen during your production itself. You absolutely need to review all these requirements. I'm going to provide you with later on the link, the website, when you can access all the Netflix requirements regarding the production in terms of image, color. They will even tell you what kind of equipment you may use to do the best, and in terms of sound post-production. It's really worthwhile to have a look at it because it will help you prepare to have better assets while you do your production, and then while we are doing the post-production and the delivery, to make sure you will be able to sell it. Why we are Netflix, iTunes, Amazon certified for the delivery? Earlier you were saying, oh, but my partner in distribution is in charge of delivering all these platforms. That's not true. It's a technical issue. Moses, by the way, you've been through that. So when you are dealing with Netflix, Netflix will tell you, okay, now you guys, you have to go to one of our studios, which is Badges and PFP, so Netflix Preferred Partner. They will review your assets. They will do some fixes. They will do the conformance, and they will deliver. Meaning we are the one doing the media processing regarding your assets to deliver these platforms. You will never do it on your own. It's always a question, it's the technical questions. Yeah, so we can go next. Yeah, no worries. And that's the same with iTunes and Amazon Prime. As per our badges as well, we've been Cannes Film Festival official partner since more than 20 years. So I met some of you this year at Cannes. You may, for info, 90% of all the films broadcast at Cannes are subtitled by Ivanti. And this year we have been pleased to have at least 3 or 4 films within the nomination that have been entirely post-produced by Ivanti. So the steps and the workflow of localization. Many people, they do believe that localization is the simple stuff. Actually, it's very complex, and you have so many people working on it, whatever if it's for subtitling or dubbing. Pascal, do you want to say a few words about the workflow?
Good afternoon. I'll try and be as brief as possible, although this is actually the major work that we do. If we mess this process from the beginning, then the final product will not end. So there are about roughly 20 stages that we go through, and I'll just try to mention a few that I think are more important, not that less important than the others, but because of time, I'll just try to mention a few. One of the things that most producers or the distributors forget in the process of localization is how they deliver the material to a company like us. I heard in the morning people were talking about hard drives and WeTransfer and other forms of delivery. But the key question is how secure are your assets when you use that route to deliver a video for localization. For example, if it is a ProRes video, one episode, 45 minutes, could easily be 50 gigabytes. And probably the whole series is probably 100 episodes. So how do you work through that? So through our specifically developed software called Agora, and Juliette will talk to you more about it, how we can make facilitate and make this process so easy for you.
We also do use Aspera. So, you know, at a certain point of time, you should not bother with, in the sense that, I know you said so, but don't use WeTransfer. And if you use WeTransfer, and each time you are, you know, sending, receiving your assets, make sure you do create a proxy video. Never use the master. So you compress it and you watermark it. And all the work should be done based on the proxy video, never the source.
So the other aspect that we also have to go through, and this is still in our pre-production process, is that when you send us the material, the big challenge we found with the African producers is that they do not have the final script. They have the shooting script. So you send us your assets, your video, and a script. But as we are going through doing our quality check just to make sure what you've sent us conforms with what you say it is, we discover that it's the shooting script that you have. And so it forces us to go through a process of adaptation to try and adapt that script. And in most cases, some people call it spotting. We love using the word time coding. The scripts are not time coded. So we have to try again to fix that. So you can see how intense our process is even before your material gets into any of our studios. The other major problem or challenge that we experience is the creation of Foley or creation of music and effect. We find that most of the producers did not imagine or foresee that they will be dubbing their content. So what they did is the final product was dubbed, it's just one track. So the dialogue, the music and effects is just one track. So it forces us to recreate the music and effects, and in some create the Foleys from the beginning for us to try and match the quality that the client has described for us.
Meaning, but we're going to go back to that regarding the technical parts. Meaning, you keep your Pro Tools session as it is. You keep your video editing session as it is. You keep all your ProRes, high-res assets. You keep it preciously. Without that, the rest will not be manageable. And since your next big move gonna be to now deal with Vue, with Amazon, with Netflix, make sure that for your next production, you keep all your raw and high-res materials.
So I'll try and jump a little bit quicker, faster, so that we do that. The other thing, the good quality that us as High-Venti try to do is the translation process. It's basically at least 3 translation process that goes through. First, let's say it's in English and you want it in Hausa. We'll have the first translation into our Hausa. And then we will have a different translator who's going to do a back translation to make sure that the intended meaning is there. And then we are going to do adaptation to keep the soul. We try to envision what the producer or the director was thinking, so that whether it is in a different language, we maintained the authenticity of the creative process. And finally, although I've jumped a few more steps, and I'm sure in the technical part we'll talk about it, is the quality control. The key thing for your product to be as valuable as you had intended for it, you need people who are good gatekeepers, who will make sure that anything that comes out of their studio meets the highest standard quality. And I think that's why Netflix prefers to work with a company like ours, or because if it is a mark of quality, because if we can do it, you can trust that anything that comes out of our studio, because of the systems that we have, can be trusted anywhere. Thank you.
Okay, so the next one. Yeah, so I go fast about the localization and how you can reach out your audience. So actually, you know, Netflix, step by step, they jump from one territory to another. So they are available in 300 territories worldwide. However, they do not localize. in 200 languages. They go step by step. Each time they start tapping a market where they start doing localization, they double in less than a month their subscription base. And then it keeps growing. So you can imagine what it means regarding your sales. When a localization is done, properly done, you are sure that you're going to reach out your audience. Can we go back to the screen? Otherwise I'm lost. So, and it's also a key point regarding your impact, regarding the quality of your programs. When the Guardian of the Galaxy, they've been released in China. So we said in China, how many theaters? 60,000. So you do imagine the money you can make out of it. So it's been released, big blockbuster. All the Chinese, they went to watch Guardians of the Galaxy. But it's been poorly dubbed, meaning that the translation didn't provide the humoristic point of view, the sense of humor, the way it was been done originally. The day after the first screening, all the social media in China said, "Oh, what is this shitty film?" And then it was a complete failure in a market such as China for a blockbuster. So you can imagine how a badly made localization could completely screw your IP. So, and it's also your responsibility as being creative, being into the creative industry, being the producer, being the film director, to make sure that when it's going to be localized in another language, it's going to respect your initial intents and creative intention. So we wanted to show you some examples, but I think you got the point. When it's badly done, you are losing your audience, you are not making money, and you cannot sell elsewhere. So here we wanted to show you some example. You guys in Nigeria, for instance, we were talking about NVivo earlier. So SVOD platform, and many other local platforms come out. They're going to come out. What's going to be your next move? To tap the neighbors' market, and then to tap the entire sub-Saharan market, and then to tap the diaspora living everywhere on Earth. So you're going to soon face what we call the multiple languages coordination. And that's a challenge. Because when you localize in different languages at the same time, such as when we work with Netflix, they said, okay, 25 languages in one go. It should be released in a month. So how do you manage that? So that we will review, and how you keep your consistency regarding the way your assets are going to be localized in various languages. Do you want to see a piece? It's from Lagardère. It's a TV drama that's been shot in Senegal in French. And we did Hausa, English, African, French African, and Wolof is on the way.
Désolée de te déranger. On m'a dit que tu étais en réunion et je voulais repartir, mais la réceptionniste m'a dit de t'attendre.
J'ai donné les consignes, je tiens à être disponible pour toi. C'est une période difficile que tu affrontes. Tu vas bien? Les filles, ça va?
Ça va aller. Mais tu sais, ma visite n'a rien d'urgent. Retourne en réunion et on se reparlera quand tu auras plus de temps.
Ton rendez-vous pour l'association Caros, c'était pas aujourd'hui?
Si. Et je suis furieuse contre cet administrateur. C'est un grossier misogyne qui a décidé de bloquer mon dossier. Je comprends pas.
Ah, Mulai, I am very sorry to bother you. I was told you were in a meeting and I wanted to go, but the receptionist told me to wait.
I gave instructions and I want to be here for you, okay? It's a difficult situation you're going through right now.
Well...
How are you? And the girls as well?
We are fine. My visit is not an emergency. Go back to your meeting. We'll catch up later when you have more time.
Your appointment for the association Caro was today.
Yes.
Right?
And I'm furious with the administrator. He's an ugly misogynist who decided to freeze my application. I don't understand.
Haba Mulayi, ka yi haƙuri na dame ka. An ce min wai kana tsakiyar taro, kuma ina son in wuce sai aka ce in jira.
Ni ne na bada umarni, ina son na haɗu da ke a nan wurin. Kin kasance kina cikin yanayi mai wahala.
Yaya kike? Yaron kuma fa?
Lafiya. Zuwan nan ba na gaggawa ba ne. Ba matsala, ka koma an jima za mu yi magana.
Ganawarki ta kungiyar Karo yau ne ko? Haka ne?
Kuma ina jin haushin mai gudanarwa. Ya kasance mai cin zarafin mata. Ban gane ba, ya tsayar da aikin.
So here it's not perfectly sync, but and I would like to stress on the fact that you guys being producer, when you ask us to do a localization, it's your asset. It belongs to you. Keep that in mind. It doesn't belong to us, it belongs to you. So that creates more assets regarding your IP. And we have always this key question we discussed, and I thank you very much, Shili. She's not there anymore, but she did a good job this morning, tapping the fact that when you want to tap the French-speaking market, key questions. Are you going to sell it only in French-speaking countries? Do you want later on to broadcast it or sell it in Switzerland, Canada, France? So you have to think before, what do you want to do in terms of sales? Because it will avoid you to redo many different dubbings, but to go directly to the dubbing that suits the market that you intend to tap. We can go next. Okay, here we're not going to go through, otherwise it's going to take ages. What I want to stress on, it's the point number 3, the pre-prod works. What we do if we are doing in multiple languages, and Netflix is asking for that, we do a key NP. Somebody said this morning that, I got my piece in Kenya, but the title was completely different. And then it's somewhere else and they changed some words. You have to do key NP, means key name and phrases. There are some stuff within your original piece that should remain the same. And if it's translated in English, it means that anywhere in the English-speaking territories, they're going to use the same word. It's a way to keep the consistency and the quality of your products. We do templates. What's templates? It's a glossary. Imagine you have your Nollywood series. It goes to China. Do you think the Chinese are going to get your sense of humor? No. So if we provide them with only the English script, they're going to translate as it is in Chinese, but they will never get what's behind, what the cultural background's behind, what are the historical references that you are making, what are this joke which is so Nigerian. So what we do create, it's a template where when we do the transcription from the originals, our guys, they're going to put some annotations like glossary for the translator later on, because they're going to have to find ways in Chinese, in Japanese, in Brazilian, to retranslate what you wanted to say in their own language and cultural background. And this is a way to keep your intention. Don't forget that, otherwise it's crude. And I wanted to show you Agora because we talked very about piracy. So what we created, it's a cloud-based tool to manage all our post-production work in terms of localization and the delivery to the platforms. Meaning it's done in a fully secured but innovative platform where everyone on Earth can connect and work on, where your asset, it's a proxy video, where within the platform you cannot download it, you can only watch it, and this is a way that your piece will never fly through WeTransfer and so on. Because once again, if we have to do 10 different languages, we have to communicate with so many people that are located everywhere around the globe, and to make sure that we are not sending, get back, resend, get back, we developed a platform, everything is in the cloud and completely fully secured. And our guys, they're gonna log into this platform, so it's a gain of time, but it's also a way to secure completely your asset. Nobody can copy it, nobody can download it. That's it. So it's a key point as well to make sure that you guys, when you work with the studio, they're gonna make sure that your content is safeguarded. I don't know if we have time to see Agora. It's not a big deal. Maybe we have to move on. Yeah, I have an Agora clip, a short one. You want to? It's the previous slide. It's a short piece of Agora. If you want to see how it works, this tool, cloud-based, I don't know. Would that be an interest for you to see it? Okay, so we go back, it's Agora. Yeah, the link doesn't work. In the folder, yes, you have a video named Agora, so it shows we did many, how we call that, tutorial. So it's one of the tutorials. So here it's about subtitling. So you have on one side, so your video. No sound, yeah.
On va d'abord se positionner à un endroit de la vidéo sans sous-titres. Et avec la combinaison de... Bonjour à tous et bienvenue sur ce nouveau module de présentation Agora. Aujourd'hui, on va voir une fonctionnalité très simple, comment ajouter un sous-titre. On va d'abord se positionner à un endroit de la vidéo sans sous-titres. Et avec la combinaison de touches CTRL-ALT, touche plus égale, ou commande-ALT, touche plus égale sur Mac, on va insérer un nouveau sous-titre. Attention avec cette fonctionnalité, car les nouveaux sous-titres ont une durée d'une image par défaut. Il faut donc penser à ajuster les TC in et out comme on a pu le voir dans le module sur le spotting. J'ai ajusté le TC out pour qu'il se termine 2 images avant le changement de plan. C'est l'intervalle minimum des normes de beaucoup de diffuseurs, notamment celle de Netflix. Voilà un sous-titre ajouté et ajusté. Il n'y a plus qu'à remplacer le New Subtitle par la traduction. Et voilà, c'est tout pour ce module. N'hésitez pas à nous envoyer vos remarques ou vos questions et regardez bien tous les modules.
So actually, at each step of our work, the system will send the source request to the freelancer. The freelancer will connect, will do the work, and we go to the next step until the QC. Pascal said the QC. The QC, it's a crazy stuff, man. For Netflix, we do the translation. If we talk about subtitling, we do the proofreading, and we do 2 full QC. So we have 4 steps before releasing the final piece that's been translated. And after, Netflix will recheck entirely what we have done. And they may come back to us what we call a retake, and we're going to have to make some amendments and redo a full QC afterwards. This QC issue, it's a key point, once again, to make sure no misunderstanding, no lost in translation, no shitty, badly made adaptation, and nothing's missing, and we are perfectly in line with the technical guidelines. Technical guidelines from our clients. So if you are a platform, you may have your own technical guidelines. We will ingest your guideline into our system, which will create an automatic QC based on your guideline, plus we will add on a manual QC done by human being. Yep, next. Let's maybe, okay. So it's an investment, but once again, you have to plan your strategy. We were talking about animation earlier. Animation, it's a lifetime program. So when you are doing all your localization, think far, 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 far away. And this is how you will recoup your cost. Let's say you do French for French-speaking African French. Okay, you do it once, but then you will sell it in various French-speaking territories in Africa. This is how you recoup your cost. Same, if you do Parisian, then you can tap the rest. If you do English, let's see, same. What's your strategy? You want to tap Africa? You want to go above, beyond, sorry. So this is all the question that you have to ask yourself. Your piece, do you think it's suitable for Netflix, Amazon? Then you go and check what the requirements. By the way, if you can take note. So for those who would like to check it out, if you go on partnerhelp.netflixstudios.com, you will get everything about the technical requirements coming from Netflix. So I repeat, it's partnerhelp.netflixstudios.com. Yeah, we can go next. And that's going to be the conclusion, and then I pass you the floor. So trust your partner when you choose your post-production studio. Trust who they are. Make sure they will not copy or send everywhere your assets. They will safeguard it. They are transparent. Within our Agora system, we can plug you, meaning that you can check where we are, what we are doing. You can say as well, I want to QC your translation before you go into recording. You can do it. I want to check your recording session before you go into mixing. You can do it. So, you know, it's all that stuff that going to make sure that you're going to be able to sell more and tap your audience, the people you want to reach out. So now we go more into technical, but Caroline, I pass you the floor. I talk too much.
Hi, everyone. Juliette has covered everything. So I'm Caroline. I run the Nairobi office. A little bit of history. I come from a TV background, so I was a TV producer. I have been a TV producer for over 20 years. I haven't moved into film, but TV shows and that sort of thing I've been doing for quite a while. But I also dabbled in audio along the way. And about 5 years ago, I helped found a dubbing company in Nairobi called African Voices Dubbing Company, which has now evolved into Hiventi Africa through a new partnership. So what we're excited about is being able to be on a more global platform. I'm very passionate about African creativity in our films. It's a bit exhausting trying to explain who we are to the rest of the world. And I feel that and know that having a strong partnership with Hiventi on the continent will really help us tap into the global conversation, which we've been locked out for a long time with comments about our quality and our storytelling and stuff like that. So I'm excited to be here. And Barry's my partner based here in Lagos, and we're looking forward to branching out in other parts of the continent in order to grab the languages. In Nairobi, we also do vernacular. So that basically we do the usual Swahili and all of this, and then we go now into our tribes. And what's exciting about localization is, like, I give an example. When you say he's a cool guy, what is that in Swahili? You know, there's a very literal translation. So how would you say he's a cool guy in a Swahili dub? And then how would you say it in a Hausa dub? So there's a lot of work that goes into dubbing, and I know that maybe a lot of people don't understand, but it's really, really quite technical and a lot of thought into the words and the choice of words and how do we share an expression that a Western person wouldn't understand. You know, what is to, you know, what does it mean? You know what I mean? In my own tribe, we don't do, we do, but what does it mean? It can mean many things for us. So there's a lot of attention to detail, and I just encourage producers, because I am a producer too, a TV producer, don't minimize the process. It's time for us to actually make money. This thing of being creative and poor is an overrated experience. So it's time for us to move to the next level and take ourselves where we need to get to. And we hope that we can help along the way. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to the millennials. This is Andrew and Raphael. They work here in Lagos. They also work in Nairobi. They move between. There are technicians and engineers, and they're going to walk us through the sound technical part of what we do. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So we are going to take you through the process of recording and mixing. But before we get there, I would like to, I think by now you already know what dubbing is. You've seen what we do. So I think we can just skip that. So there are key players before it gets to us. Yeah, we have the production manager, we have a translator and time coders, we have voice artists and directors and sound engineer. Now that's who we are. Next, so the role of a production manager, mostly, they create budget, they come up with schedule on when we are going to complete the actual work. They create scheduling for the studios. They also come up with they advertise when we need auditions for voice artists, voice actors. They advertise, and then they also keep records for all those things. Next, so on translators, what mostly they do is basically translate. and time code, make sure every scene or what is being said is exactly at the right time code. Yeah? And they also do adaptation to make sure what is being said is correct, what is being said is, what is being translated is going to fit the actual scene. Because for us to sync, we have to be able to have enough words to go with the movement of the mouth. Next. Then we have voiceover artist. So basically, there are some certain skills that we look for from voiceover artists. Yeah, they have to be fluent with the language they speak. Yeah, they have to be fluent. They have to be able to sing depending on the project we are working on. They have to be able to do impressions. They have to convey emotions depending. You have to be able to cry with your voice. It's not acting, but you're crying with your voice because you're actually representing.
It actually is acting. So you need to be as versatile as possible. I think people downplay, especially nowadays, since essentially coming up with a basic recording studio, it has become really easy. And so people tend to downplay the skill and assume that it's light work. It isn't. So you as a voice artist, you need to be able to at least, and these are very basic. Another very important one, I think, is being able to have stamina. And by stamina, what do I mean? There are times a recording period for one artist can take a long time. So we usually look at how many lines an artist has to do, particularly in one sitting. So there are times you might have only 10 lines to do. Other times you might have to do like 100, 300. And then that's usually where the chaff is separated from the diamonds, Obviously, at some point, you get better. But that stamina, you have to be able, even like at your 250th line, you still have the same energy, same emotion as you did in the beginning.
Because you'll be required to shout sometimes. And also, one thing that we forgot to write is that you have to be able to read the language. Because most people can speak the language, but they cannot read the language. Yeah? So, next. So, directors. Directors play a very key role in the production chain. So, they're the ones who make sure the actor or the voice actor is in character. They check on grammatical errors. They make sure what the person is saying is actually the thing that is being conveyed. What else? They also do quality control. In pre-production and post, they do quality control. Quality control is just making sure what is being said is the correct thing and making sure that the sync is correct. Other than that, we can't send our work to a client if it's not good. Next.
I think also, before we move on, we as audio techs, sometimes you also have to take on the role of a director. But as there are certain roles, there are certain aspects or certain factors that we have to consider as techs. One of the main ones, as he said, is consistency and continuity, particularly in tone and in character. So people tend to interchange tone and character and think they're the same thing. Tone is very different. I'll give an illustration. So imagine, okay, now I'm in the studio, and I've done like 100 lines with this particular cast. And now he has to, let's say we go on a lunch break. After he comes from the lunch break, we are supposed to continue on the next couple of lines, isn't it? So the continuity in character, the character, that basically depends on each scene. So that can change from one scene to the other. But the tone is very important.
The mood of the movie.
Yeah. And also tone, like from a technical standpoint, it almost, I basically mean the frequency. Because there are times you'll find, like, let's say someone has had a very heavy lunch. Someone has had, like, let's say, swallow and a goosey and is eaten for like 3 people. So now he comes and sits in the booth. You think that his tone is going to be the same. But then he sits down and the IT is already working on him, So he sits in the booth, you are ready. You're trying to think, you're basically working under the assumption that it will be as quick as the previous program. Then you start hearing things like, starts talking like this. You start hearing things like the frequency has changed. He's talking a lot slower, you know. So now, and that usually manifests. It manifests because visually, there's a way it looks like on Pro Tools. You can tell like the wave, there's a way it looks smaller. So you find yourself readjusting the gain, readjusting the volume so that it can look like the previous, you know. So you almost have to be able, you can't like start hitting the glass separating you and the booth like wake up, you know. So you have to find a way to speak. You know, it's almost like you have to employ like soft skills. You have to be able, you and the director, you have to be able like, hey, my guy, listen to how you were talking before. And try and maintain the same vigor, try and maintain the same. So tone is extremely important. And it's usually very overlooked, but it's extremely important.
Next, just go back. This is now where we come in as the sound engineers. So next, please.
Next presentation, I'll have a better picture.
So we have to understand what is sound, but I won't bore you with the scientific definition. I'll just put it directly. Next, please. Sound is actually what you hear. I won't bore you with the molecules and the distortion. So sound is actually what you hear now for you to understand. Next. So before we can understand how to record and how to manage audio in a working station, we have to understand some few things. We have to understand frequency and amplitude. Frequency is just the oscillation of sound, is the oscillation speed of the wave measured in terms of cycles per second. That is hertz, Hz. And then amplitude is just the loudness of audio, measured in decibels, dB. Next. So now we are going to take you through the softwares we use. Juliet has explained to you about Agora. We also have our own in-house inbuilt software called Dubmaster. This helps us in keeping count of the number of lines, making sure it also helps us in translation, adaptation, and transcription. If you want to say anything. Okay, now digital W. This is another digital audio workstation. This is another set of requirement software-wise. It's just an electronic application software used to record, mix, and edit audio. Yeah.
So in the modern studio, it's basically the center of your studio, because without the digital audio workstation, there will be no interface between your soft and hardware. So basically a digital audio workstation. You don't have a digital audio workstation in your typical, in your studio right now. You know, what are you doing?
As you can see, it replaces that whole machine, that mixer there. It acts as a mixer. It replaces all that. It allows you to put so many things, so many functions for you to even manage to use all these mics in just one computer. So the reason why they're reliable, it's because they can handle long sound files, because you're using a hard disk, so you're not limited. You're only limited with the amount of space you have on your hard drive. And then random access editing. You can edit the audio at any time. So long as you've recorded and you have the audio, you can edit it anytime, make changes, move it from, maybe if it's recorded in the wrong scene, you want to move it to another scene, it's very easy. And then non-destructive editing. More or less it's the same as the random access editing.
Non-destructive. I know this is a technical lecture, so most of us might be floating. But I think it's important for us to communicate how serious this work is. So, okay, non-destructive editing basically means that when you do something to like a recorded piece, you can reverse it. You know, like even when you're writing like a typical essay and you can press Ctrl-Z. Let's say if you typed something, all you have to do is press Ctrl-Z and you revert back to where you were before you made the mistake. So that's what non-destructive editing basically means. But it also gives you the choice for the sake of saving on space. It also allows for destructive editing. Yeah, see. So
because of time, I think we are gonna skip some things.
Yep.
We are gonna go all the way to the point.
Yeah.
Studio functionality.
Yeah, so the studio functionality, I've seen that most of the people in my team have already addressed like naming schemes, how to name and archive your work. Let me be the first, as speaking as a tech, we cannot emphasize this enough. Save your work properly. Because it makes, and save your work, and also try and keep your ear on the streets and try, because most of us, we are here because we are trying to plug into the international standards. So there's a language that is spoken out there that all you guys have to do, or all we have to do, is learn here in Africa. Because there's a lot of creativity, but we are probably trying to see how we can communicate it to the rest of the world.
So, as also in terms of naming your work nicely, we also have to, in terms, if you're recording or if you're producing a series, make sure all the episodes are put in separate folders. Make sure all your audios are put in separate SD cards if for scenes, and or you can use SD cards or CF cards, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do like a brief rundown on things like microphones, microphone placement, as much as time will allow. So we are all aware of what a microphone, it's what I'm using right now. There are different types of microphones, different applications, different polar patterns. In the studio, we prefer to use condenser microphones because basically there's a science to it. What is happening right now, acoustic energy which is coming from my voice is being translated electronically. It's being changed into an electronic volt, which in the studio would then go into an audio interface where it will change into a digital whatever, before it goes out of the other end into the speaker, back into an analog signal, so that you can hear it as it plays back. Throughout all these stages, the integrity of the audio file is being compromised. So it behooves you, as someone who is setting up your studio, to have the best possible, even within your budget, have the best possible equipment, so that as the audio file goes through this series of changes, it comes out of the other side almost as perfect as it sounded before. Like basically how my voice sounds, you know what I mean? So your microphone is very important.
And also when you record, make sure your settings, your audio is on 24-bit. That is the minimum standards for Netflix and their likes.
Especially for video in general. You know.
And don't use the camera microphones. Make sure you use standard microphones. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Input gain. So usually each audio interface has the input gain, which basically regulates how much energy, how much volume I want my output level to be at. Typical considerations: distortion and overdrive. Those are no-nos in the audio industry, unless it's intentional. Clipping cannot be reversed. So you have to make sure that your gain level is set at a proper level. And you also have to consider that things change. Yes? Yeah.
So meaning if during the assessment of your files we notice the clipping, you have to find ways to re-record.
Yeah.
So as you can see in the image here,
clipping is not allowed by Netflix.
It cuts out some words.
Clipping, it's distortion. So usually basically what happens, the amplifier of your audio interface, you overdrive it. Like let's say I can be talking too loudly, but the amplifier cannot take the amount of energy that I'm putting into the mic. So usually what happens, it compromises the quality of the audio. And the more you listen to clipping, the more you can pick it up. But this is how it would look like on graphic, like how it would look like on Pro Tools. And it's very easy to pick up. Yeah.
Can I just add something? From the producer's point of view, So basically, I know with the digital age, a lot of producers think that everything can be done in post. But the reality is that as much as even I get irritated with location soundmen on shoots, let them do their jobs, let them get us the sound. We really, really need great quality audio because the clipping and all these issues that come up later cannot be corrected. The reality is it's not true. We can maybe paste something on top to hide
of it
the
to mask
clipping,
it, exactly.
but the reality is we can't actually mask it if you're going for the levels of, if you're going to the Netflixes and people like that. So let's just do a good job at the beginning, spend money on the location sound guy. Make sure we get all the audio, check your audio, check your audio, check your audio. It really causes problems in post later, and the reality is we can't fix it.
I don't know how much time we have. Yeah. Yeah? 5 minutes, yeah? So which topic are we going to say?
Maybe we can just do a quick questions, maybe like find out what might be a burning issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are available for other conversations.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a question?
My name is Donna Mokwe. Beautiful presentation, and I think this is much needed in the industry. But one challenge I've always had is with local languages and English. And we did a film in 2015, Taxi Driver Okwashewo, and it was a Yoruba language film. And we had a lot of problems trying to do it because we were picked up in TIFF and we were going to TIFF and we had to present the film. And so we needed to do the translation. And at that point in time, we realized how poor English language is compared to the richness of the Yoruba language, which is what was done. And as much as we tried, so we had bad guys that did the subtitling, we rejected it. Then we got some professional guys. And then we had to, and when it was done professionally in the English language, it still didn't carry the essence.
Yeah.
So what we then had to do was now, a film in Yoruba language was now subtitled in Lagos Pidgin. And that was how we're now finally able to get that essence. And it went to TIFF, and it stole the show when we presented it. And so I am still not sure our local languages, the essence of our local languages can ever be gotten in English or French or any of those things, because there's just so much depth to who we are as a people, and these international languages continue to struggle to get that essence, and I really don't know if there's a way we can solve that. I don't think so. Your turn.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Willis Ikedum. I'm a filmmaker. All right, so I heard there's a time I encountered a little problem with my...
Can you make it louder, please?
Yeah, I encountered a little problem with my sound mixer on set. And then I discovered that sometimes the sounds were not... the frequency didn't match. It wasn't totally... And then sometimes some people sound like they're talking from their nose, like, that kind of thing. So... a filmmaker friend of mine, she's not a sound engineer. She said it's as a result of the booming from below when an actor is seated, right? The guy booming. So I want to know, is that true?
Terrible voices or terrible sound at the output level is usually a sum of many things going wrong. So usually, the first thing you have to check the quality of the equipment, the microphone especially. I said it already. If you have good quality microphones, then there's a way they are going to translate throughout the analog to digital conversion back to the analog conversion. So that's one aspect. You have a very good point on also the posture of the artist. That one is extremely important. You'll find people like, okay, fine, let's say you can't be acting like a scene. Let's say I'm supposed to be dubbing a scene, an action scene, where I'm running, so I'm supposed to be panting, or where I'm doing the typical ha ha ha, but then I'm sat like this. It's like I'm in a lounge. So you'll find now the guy is like he's looking at the screen and he's trying to sync with it. Syncing is not going to be the problem because he's syncing. But now in post, like as we are mixing, we'll be able to pick that up immediately. So the performance of the artist is also extremely important.
Here you are talking during the shooting, right? Yeah. Okay, so what we do, what we can do and what we do, in Europe, that's for sure. We do what we call a post-synchro. So we will request the actors to come into the studio and we will re-record the dialogue that, you're recording during the shooting. Yeah, and believe it or not, but in Europe, all the films, all of them are post-synchro, meaning that during the post-production process, we will redo the entire dialogues with the pool of actors, and we will recreate all the Foley. So all of this we will recreate. So actually the mics that you are using during your shooting cannot grab all the sound that you may want in your final piece. That's why we do recreate all this sound during the post-production. I know, it's money, it's time, so we won't do that. But for some specific part of your film, you might say, this part, the sound is very bad. So let's go in the studio with your actor and we will record these sequences or this sentence,
Okay, I have a question, please. I have plenty of questions. Good evening, everyone. My name is Edward Patrick. I'm a director and producer. You talked about the script that is delivered. I want to know, just for clarity, is it the filming script or the dialogue script, or do we just give you everything? That's one. Two, how much should we be budgeting for this thing? Because it's a lot of work. It's so much intensity, so much details going into it. So just give us an idea, maybe a blanket range. Have this in mind when you're doing this. And you've already answered the third question which I wanted to ask about what do we do on set with the whole bust audio. We know it as ADR. We're going back into the studio and recreate the entire thing, please. Thank you.
You want to reply about the script and the dialogue list? Actually, we would need both. But if you don't have it, if you don't have the dialogue list, dialogue list for us, it's crucial. So if you don't have it, doesn't matter. We will create it. It's what we call a transcription. So we will first do a spotting. We will TC in and out all your dialogues from your piece, and then we will transcribe. And that's going to be our first material to work on. Yeah? I will reply about the rate. I just wanted to catch up about how to translate. That's why I was talking about this template and glossary. Obviously, you may not provide exact essence or intents from one language to another, but you have to try the best. And for that, you have to help the translators. As I was saying, a Chinese, he doesn't know nothing about your cultural background, like a French, or, So you need to provide them some annotation, information about what's the meaning of these specific expressions, what's that relate to, in order to find ways to link this intention into in French, in English, or whatever the language is. Price-wise, then it depends who's the final broadcasters. Because sincerely, with Netflix, you can double easily because it's so much work. And what you have to know is with Netflix, we are under what we call the metrics. And we cannot be above 5% of redeliveries regarding Netflix metrics. It's crazy. You are really under pressure. If we are above 5% of redelivery, we are kicked out. So it's a lot of pressure for us to meet all these Netflix requirements. So a dubbing can go between 12 and 23 USD per minute. We do sell per minute. Then it depends. It can be less if it's a documentaries because you have less voice talent. If it's a voiceover, it's going to be less as well. But if we are talking here about a film or a TV series with a lot of actors, yeah, we're going to be, then it depends the volume because we will negotiate differently the rights with the voice talents if we have huge volumes. So let's make the range between 12 and 23. Yeah?
I would say do 12 to 23. The thing is about dubbing, certainly, for me, I treat it as manufacturing. The more I have, the cheaper it gets. If I don't have enough, it gets more expensive because every time, for like us, we have a model where we keep a lot of actors there full time in order to be able to reduce costs. So the minute we don't have content, then we start having to select people who might be doing radio work and stuff like that. And we know that radio, TV, you don't pay the actors the same as you would necessarily in a soap opera and stuff like that. So it really ranges. But I would say use a guideline of between, you can even say $8 a minute for like something in Swahili. It gets a little bit more complicated for languages like Amharic and other languages that look very much like symbols, moving upwards to about 25. And just to give you, because I insist, I do African French. She does French in Paris. Let her tell you how much French in Paris costs per minute.
250 euros per minute, thanks to the unions. Same in Japan, same in Brazil.
So even as you look
copyrights,
at these,
because all these countries, they do protect the voice talents, copyrights.
Yeah. So the reality is that even as you work as a producer to work out the territories, you've got to start the research and get the costing up front. Don't try to figure it out after the fact. Something from $8 to 250 euros is a vast difference. So you've got to be really clear about what you want to do with the product.
Just before a question, I wanted to answer you about the boom mic. The boom mic, I think one thing you have to understand is you have to understand your microphone, because all microphones record differently. Like if I tell you about a condenser mic, which is mostly used in studios, the microphone is here. So when I speak like this, the audio won't be clear. But for a dynamic microphone, the microphone is here. So when you speak from here, it will be clear.
Which is tough during the shooting. The mic is far.
So if you speak from down here, it won't be clear. But if you speak from the point of mic, it will be clear.
But I think the best solution would be ADR. I don't know where we are going to reach, at what point we are going to reach that level where we have the budgets for ADR. But it's literally the best. It's only the best solution, because recording on location, that's usually just a guide track. It's usually just a guide track. But beyond that, especially if you want your standards to increase, it has to be in a controlled environment. Yeah. Everything else we can add, the environment, sound effects or whatever. Yeah. During post, yeah.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Bemuto. I'm a cinematographer. I think I understand what he's trying to say, that they were filming and the swinger, did one particular shot from mic'd the artist from the top, first from the top, then he did a second take and it took the sound from below. But there was not disparity in texture of the sound. That's what he's trying to say. That how can that be corrected?
As I said, it's all post-synchro. In US, in Europe, keep that in mind, guys. All the actors, they are coming back into studio to re-record all their dialogues. We recreate all the sounds, all the foley. So that's why, no miracles. Why the sound is so clean when you are watching a feature from US, it's because it has all been post-synchro.
Sorry, sorry, one moment, please.
Yeah.
What we're trying to find out here is that, can the texture be matched?
You shot it, you see the thing with audio, you see the thing with the waveform.
Yes.
Once you've recorded it, that basically means the tonal differences are there, and they're embedded into the audio file.
Yes.
There isn't any way
you can match it.
All right. You can come very close. But I'm sure, if you spotted it and someone tries to do as much as they can, you can try. I remember trying once to I just put and this was a very lazy edit, but I basically just, I put, what's it called? A low cut. a low pass filter. So I just cut the high frequencies, because usually the differences happen at the top harmonics. So you do that for both of them, and yes, they'll sound more similar, they'll sound a lot similar to each other. But by doing that, you've already compromised the recording, and you've compromised its quality, even more than it already was when you recorded from here and you recorded from here. So the continuity is important, not only for us when we are recording in the studio, but also for the location engineer. As they are, you can't record here and then record here. Yeah. So you decide from the beginning, we are going to try and shoot from here as much as we can. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm even help out here. You know, when you record from underneath, the voice is always deeper. And it's usually a technique used in horror films. Yeah. If you actually look at that. Yes, so if you shoot from underneath and the voice naturally becomes deeper, and you then shoot from top,
it's going to be thinner.
It's thinner because that's the way you naturally speak. Yeah. So that is why you have the difference here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying
you can use them. You can use them creatively.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use it creatively as long as you know what you're going for. If you know, like at this scene, then finally, if you know at this scene, okay, fine, maybe I don't need the voice to be as deep. In audio engineering, we call it proximity effect. If I was to take the mic closer to my mouth, you'll naturally hear that the lower frequencies are beginning to be more amplified, you see. So it's called the proximity effect. Perhaps that's what's happening when you're shooting from below as well. Because, okay, I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Also, lower frequencies have a longer wavelength. Now I'm going to go technical. I don't know if that's going to help. Lower frequencies have longer wavelengths. So perhaps when you place the mic underneath, there's a way. By the time it reaches down, there's a certain way it's definitely going to sound in comparison to a higher whatever. Recording from a higher whatever, and also probably try and see not only the position at like it's from the bottom or from the top. How close was it? Was the closeness to the mic to the mouth source? Was the closeness the same? Did you observe that, or did you just observe that it was from here and then it was from here? Because maybe also the distance from the mouth source, from the sound source, also that affects the timbre and it affects the tonal quality of the recording.
Okay, so two things, sorry, finally. Right? You're saying that ordinarily, if an actor is seated, right, and you're recording, even if it's a love scene that doesn't require others groaning, like, you're saying that automatically the person is going to sound, the voice is going to be deeper?
What I'm saying is, I'm saying it's going to be different. It's different. Because there are many factors at play. The microphone being the first thing, The room, let's say, like the room, the environment, There are so many other factors that are playing other than just shooting up and shooting down.
All right, thank you.
So you just try and maintain a certain level of continuity, so that if you want that deep voice, then make sure when you start here, you continue here. You start here, you continue here. You start here, you continue here.
Thank you so much.
But still ADR.
Thank you.